Hey, what's up folks? It's Clay, the Techie Tattooer here. In today's video, I'm gonna go over how to draw an American traditional skull, not because anybody asked, but because the analytics in my YouTube studio said people are searching for that online. So why not? Let's see what happens. Yeah, so we're just gonna get right to the iPad and go over American traditional skulls. All right, folks, here we are. I just did a quick Google search for American traditional skulls. That way we can kind of go over a real quick overview of what the key design factors are when we're going to be designing our American traditional skulls, and how you simplify a skull, specifically a skull design, what lines we're going to want to use, and how we're going to take reality and smush that down into a nice flat design and minimalize it, right, and use the minimum amount of lines to create our image. That is what American traditional tattooing is about, is taking a piece of reality and ripping all the details out that you can to use the simplest, absolutely the simplest line work you can to still communicate what that image is. And so if you look here, we'll go ahead and start with the classic guy up at the top here. This is a really classic version of the cowboy skull. And what you're gonna see with almost 90+% of American traditional skulls is that you obviously have your jaw, right? Some blacked out area in that under part of the cheekbone where that gap happens in the jaw, right? You got the two main pieces, you get your jaw and then your skull, the upper part. If you're doing both, right, and not just the top of the skull, you're going to have a really simplified version of your jawline. The upper skull, obviously it always has the two eyes and the nose, but then 90% of the time, you also have this eye socket line and cheekbone line. That's a really core thing that you're gonna sink shading behind, right? As we look at, right, this guy, you've got your simplified jawline, you've got your upper skull with the obviously two eyes and nose, and then almost always you've got that cheekbone and eye socket dividing line there in your American traditional designs. Here we see that exact same thing again. They've got a little bit higher detail where they've added that little bevel sink in. It's not a drop shadow or lighting, but it is a fake version of creating an indent to make three-dimensionality in that skull, in that upper part of the skull. A lot of times you'll also see these cracks done in the skull, and those are those main break lines that all real skulls have. Actually, let's go ahead and do a Google search for what a real skull looks like, and we can kind of do a little comparison there. All right, so where's a good skull that shows the actual whatever those lines are called? Here we are. This is a great version to take a peek at. So these lines here, right? A lot of the American traditional and even neo-traditional uses simplified or not even realistic, but yeah, fake versions of these break lines that are the individual pieces of the skull to create a little bit of sense of reality, to make your skulls look a little bit just more interesting, because this is a big blank area, a big blank circle in American traditional, and we fill that in with these crack lines to just give it an interesting feel. But that's all going to be up to what you're doing with your specific style. And as you can see in this version here, they've done almost a very realistic breakdown of what those lines are, and then having that top crease in there, the top break in the head there. That's going to all be up to you stylistically, how you want to make that happen. Notice how this skull doesn't have it. This skull only has it a little bit here. This skull doesn't have it at all because that area rolls around and is hidden by the hat. So don't add details that are going to make the design muddy, right? You're going to want to do everything you can to keep your designs as clean as possible. This one here doesn't do it either because they've covered that area with tattoos. And again, it based on the size of the skull, based on how many lines are already in the skull and what's in front of it or what's around it. You're going to want to take that on a case-by-case basis. This is a really good version, again, to show the examples of this is where the lines actually are in the sections of the skull in reality, but they're just ultra simplified versions of that. In this guy, you'll actually see a top line here to show the brow marker. That, that's again a stylistic choice. You don't have to do those, but each one of these, right? Like this guy doesn't have that, right? But that's going to be your style choice, right? This guy does have it with that little line dip in there. This guy has it as well with the little overlines. And so that's going to be, right? This guy's got it there with a unibrow thing going on. That's all stylistic choice. And again, notice how this one doesn't have the cracks down at the bottom here in the skull because we've got a blade in front of it, but it does throw some cracks up here that don't model reality at all, but fill in this negative naked space, right? And fills in that empty spot to just give it, some more interesting line work. Again, here, we've got that little bit of it in this skull here with the 3 lines. And then he's got the brow lines as well. Here, this is a little bit too much detail, but again, depending on the size that you do this tattoo in, it could be the absolute perfect amount of detail. It all depends, right? This is a very American traditional take on this style. This is a great tattoo, it's a great American traditional piece. And so those are the basic design considerations, right? These are some Sailor Jerry's here. Notice how even his are a little bit different. He doesn't use the brow line in these two, but he does use the brow line in this one, right? You've got the crack here in the middle. You've got that eye socket holder. It doesn't extend down with this one, right? But it does extend with this one. So stylistically, that's all going to be choices that you're going to make and figure out, even for the individual piece, how much detail you want to stick in there. And as the size, location, other elements like snakes and daggers and headdresses, cowboy hats, whatever, roses, that's going to help you figure out how much detail to stick in that skull. But let's just go ahead and start with a new layer. I'm going to go to my calligraphy pen, the mono line. And you know what? Actually, I'm going to go ahead. I have a skull pack here, and we're going to draw over some references. Where's my skull pack? All right, here we are in my skull pack, and this is actually a super useful reference pack. It is again from the Broken Puppets site. I think it's tattoospace.com, and this will help you draw from different angles and different perspectives. I'll just go ahead and do this guy here. That's a great place to start from. We're going to raise this up, and we're going to go ahead and use... we'll actually use this one because it's got some interesting perspective to it. I'm going to bring down the opacity on this layer so we can barely see it. Grab a new layer, get back to my mono line here in the calligraphy pen, I'm starting out with like a 30. Yeah, that works okay. That's a pretty good line weight. And you can see this skull, because it's a reality reference, has all these extra lines in it that are actually in a real skull. This line isn't so much in it. It's got a little bit of that neo-traditional vibe to kind of show you how these guys break things down. But anyway, we'll get there. So we're just going to go ahead and simplify everything down. We're not even going to use the real lump of the head there. We're going to make it even simpler. We're going to bring this around. We're not going to even bring the base of the skull all the way around either. We're actually going to cheat it into the skull a little bit, or into the jawline a little bit, because we want the jaw to poke out and be a little bit lower. Yes, that doesn't quite work out for the perspective, but we don't care. We want really nice differentiation lines in our skull. That's the primary job, right? We could actually take this guy a little bit lower. Let's be honest. Let's take him a little bit lower here. So let's bring it down to about here. And then I'm going to hold this line, and that'll make that line nice and crisp and perfect. There we are. I like that a little bit better. Then we're not going to worry about this double shading line at the moment. We're going to bring this out like that. We're going to kind of measure that height along this perspective line here. And we're going to give him, we'll bring that in like that. Bring that in like that. And then bring this in to match. Boop. We'll go a little bit more square looking on that guy. Yep, I like that. Then we're going to have, I'm going to bring this nose back a little bit from where it would be in reality. And we're going to give it kind of that basic heart shape. By making this nostril smaller, we're faking perspective on it, right? We're faking that a little bit in the design there. I'm going to add this line here to give us the ability to, right? Actually, I'm going to add one of these. Boom. Nope, I don't like that. We're just going to go pure like that. There we are. Right, that's what we're going to do for the nose. Then we're going to give him nice square eyes. Nope, that's too far up. We're going to do more gap between the brow line there. Nice square eye there. I like that. Then because we don't really want to butt this up against here, we're going to give it basically the same gap there, get really close to this edge, and then whoop up. Right, there we are for that piece. I like to have a little bit bigger cheekbones. I think it just kind of looks cool. So we're going to add a bigger cheekbone like this. I'll probably even give it one of those swoopy deals. Yep, I like that. And then we're going to give him his eye socket frame. Again, I like to give him bigger cheekbones just because I think it looks cool. That's my personal stylistic choice. Going to give him a nice, simple cheekbone there. I don't really like that. I'm going to make it a little bit more rounded. Because what I'm doing is I'm kind of balancing what it looks like off of this side. And so I'm going to cut this out here and make that not such an extreme. Yep, I like that better. I could even bring this up just a little bit higher. Yep, I like that there. Boom. And then boom. All right. We're going to bring the jawline in, and I'm not going to make it visible the way this jawline's visible. We're going to tuck it in here, keeping that same basic shape. Yoink. We're going to give it that. And I'm going to bring this back a little bit more. Yep, I like that. And then we're going to give this gap, boom, like that. I'm going to then give it, instead of having the bone line be like that, I'm actually going to have it go the opposite direction and have it look like that. And I know that's not reality, but we're just making choices, people. You could do a more realistic thing where you have it cut in like that and have it cut in like this. That absolutely works. That's a great way to do that. And we'll just leave it like that. Forget it. It doesn't really matter. This is all just going to be stylistic choices you make on your own. Now we're going to bring in the teeth. The teeth are just going to be super simple swoops. There actually won't be a gap in them the way he's got a gap in his mouth. Boink. Yep. And then this is where, if you really want to make it evil, you give him real canines, right? Super extreme canines. Notice how now I'm not actually really caring too much about his teeth count. I'm actually caring about making it to this line with a nice set of balanced teeth. But that's a little Dracula style. So we're going to say forget it. And we're just going to draw in a bunch of square bottomed teeth, little flat bottom teeth. And then ending in a nice position right there. Then we're going to go ahead and put in the lower jaw. So this is our middle line here. So we're going to start coming off of this. I like to make the bottom teeth longer and skinnier. I think it's a good look. But again, all of y'all are going to make your own stylistic choices with this. Nope. They're going to get shorter as we go back towards the molars. And then I'm just going to end it with a swoop there. There we go. We'll go ahead and add a cool little crack line there and a crack line here. Gonna add a little crack line at the top of the head there. Since I've got this in that, I'm gonna add, I'm gonna add one there. I'm gonna add one here. We'll go ahead and give him a little butt chin. Boink, because that looked cool. Then we're gonna go ahead and give him some dynamic stuff right there along the bottom of that guy. And that's how I'm gonna do my outline for this American traditional style skull. Now, as you can see, this has got a little bit more detail level to it than some of the other pieces. We're gonna go ahead and just get rid of this. We're gonna go ahead and make this the reference layer. Reference. Get back to this guy. Get onto my airbrush. Yep. I am gonna start out though with just doing freehand, because we're gonna freehand grab, we're gonna freehand grab this section here and shade it. Yep. And then we're gonna actually automatic grab. Actually, I'm not even gonna automatic grab. We'll just drag and drop. Bloop, bloop. And then just to double check myself, yep, we are on the shading layer. We're not messing up our line work reference layer. One of the main reasons you're not gonna wanna do that, like if you were just doing art, like you might wanna do that. It doesn't matter, you might not care so much. One, I think it's super important to just keep everything layered off with digital art. I think it just helps with your workflow. It helps if you need to edit line work or anything like that. But two, most importantly, as a tattoo artist, you need to keep your line work layer nice and clean so you can print off an awesome stencil. So that's really, as a tattoo artist, why you're gonna wanna keep that layer, your line work layer clean, is printing off your stencil. So here we go though, back to this. I've got those filled in, I've got that filled in. I am gonna automatic grab this, and we're gonna shade from this darker area, but we're actually gonna give it a little bit of that gradient there. This one probably doesn't have room for that. We might, let's see. Yeah, we'll give it a little tiny bit. And then we're gonna do the same thing in the nose. There we go. Yep. Gonna do some freehand grabs. And we're gonna shade this cheekbone a little bit here. There we are. Yep. And then I'm actually gonna do a freehand grab here by creating a skin break to there. And then bringing this around like this. And what we're gonna do is a little bit of one of these. Yep. Go to the airbrush. Airbrush a little bit of this out there. Brush a little bit of this back out there. All right, so we've got that for a little cool piece. We'll add a little bit of shading into these sections here as well. Whoops. Yeah, I like that. Gonna add some shading into the jaw because this is solid black here, but I do want to put a little bit of shading under this. I'm actually going to, again going to do a little skin break. And then one of these, and then I'm going to hit the bottom of this loop. But then, yeah, and then go underneath there. That's a little bit too heavy. I probably should have made the brush smaller for that. Now I'm gonna get rid of. There we are. Gonna do the same thing here with that gap. Shade up to that, but then break this apart. Yeah, I like that. Except that, of course, we're gonna get rid of this gross little hard line. There we are. In order to show, get rid of you. Whoop. Get rid of that gross little hard line there. Yep, get rid of this gross little hard line there a little bit. There we are. And then, yeah, for this little area, We have two options here, right? We could shade just right up against it. Give it one of these. Nothing wrong with that. Right, we can absolutely do that. But I am going to continue with these little skin breaks, so that it looks like that. I just like that a little bit better, right? Yeah. You can see there's that version versus that version, this version. All right, so I like that a little bit better because it gives it a little bit of shine at the edging there. I didn't do it up here, but again, this is American traditional, right? I could also do that here. Right, that's a totally valid choice to make. Boink. Right, that looks pretty dope. I like that. Now we're gonna do more of our freehand grabs. And I'm gonna grab this. Boom. And we're gonna shade in here. Yeah. Yep, I like that. Do another freehand grab, and because I keep doing these skin breaks, I'm gonna do the same thing with this one. Yeah. Whoa, cancel. Yeah, I just thought that would happen. Darn it. Yoink, because I'm doing the skin gaps, we'll redo this because I'm a dork. There we are. Yep. Whoa now, how did I get to that? Right, there we are. Choo, 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 choo. Because I've got this little bevel line, I should do a little bit of shading right here. Where did you come from? But that's how I would shade that skull. That's actually all I would do to it. You can add reds to it if you would like. And that means we're gonna grab a different layer or create a new layer, go beneath it so that the black stands out in front of our colors. And we'll drop in some classic red into the eyes and nose. You know what? I'll go ahead and actually even give these a little bit of a gradient, No, I'm gonna go the opposite way with that. There we are. Right, give those a little bit of a gradient, and you could add yellows and whatnot to this. You know, like some kind of funky flesh tony yellow. Right? And you would just give it some color pop. right? Coming out of the shadows of these for gradients. Right, little bits of color pop there. Little bits of color pop here. But you don't have to, right? This is just a classic black and gray American traditional skull. This is not necessary at all. We're just kind of playing around now and showing what options are and that kind of stuff. Right, that looks kind of cool. Maybe we'll do another little bit in here. Yeah, we'll put a little bit in here. A little bit in here. Oh, that didn't work out very well. Oh well. Right. Put a little bit here. No, I don't like that. And when I'm pulling this away, I'm actually kind of leaving this skin gap to bring around into the shading there, right? And it kind of tricks the eye into seeing it like that, right? We could add a little bit of this color around the eye sockets if we wanted to. Right, we can add a little bit of that. But I'm gonna erase some of this out. I don't like how big, yeah, I do not like how big that ended up becoming. We're gonna separate these. Still leaving that nice swoop. There you go. Way better. I like that way more. And then because we've got some yellows going on, we're going to go ahead and give them a gold tooth. And that's it. That is our American traditional skull design. Right? There we are, folks. Simple American traditional skull. I did actually miss one little layer here now that I'm looking at it. We'll want to get this just a little bit. There we go, just a little bit there. So that all these little or all these little shaded areas all have some kind of color coming out of them. Just a little bit. Right, there we are. Maybe we'll even bring this down a little bit into his brow to Give him that kind of monobrow looking deal going on. Yep, there we are. That is our American traditional skull design. It's a little bit on the higher detail level because I did trace an actual skull to make this happen. So it looks a little realistic, but you can kind of see what the rules are for creating your design and how it follows all of the other line work and shading rules that the other tattoos we looked at in the beginning of the video, right? Yeah. Oh, I did forget the little line here too. This needs a little bit of the gold shading as well. Pooh. Doing videos and talking at the same time. There we go. There we are. Right. Hopefully I got that correct. Hopefully that's right. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Hopefully this video was informative for you and helped you figure out how to design your own American traditional skulls, how to just break down actual human anatomy or actual reality references and turn them or simplify them into the American traditional style. If you wanted to do neo-traditional versions of this, you would take all those rules, but just add more details or take away fewer details from reality, right? All of these shading concepts stay the same, but you just create more detail level, multiple line weights, right? You'd have like a thicker outline around the whole outline of this image. You'd have smaller line weights, thinner line weights for the teeth, for the insides of things, right? And so kind of more and more and more you go into the smaller parts of the image. You break out the outer area. You have the biggest outlines in that area. And as you go more and more detailed, you shrink your line weights down further and further. You could start with 2 line weights. You actually see 2 line weights in a lot of American traditional even. Not like the classic American traditional, but the newer American traditional. You see a lot of double line weights. But if you're into like 3 line weights, 4 line weights, you're probably into your neo-traditional realm at that point. Because if you need that many line weights, you're adding a lot of details, and then we're no longer in the ultra-simplified American traditional versions. Thanks for watching, folks. I really appreciate it. I know this video wasn't something that anybody requested, but my analytics said to make it, and so use data to inform your life, right? Yeah, live by the algorithm. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting, liking, subscribing, because I know every single one of you is going to do that, right? All right. Thanks, you guys. I'll see you next time.